Hello, and welcome to the first Drawing Animal podcast episode of 2025. I am your host, Wesley Bear, and on today's episode we will be talking about the Hoatzin. South American bird, also known as the stink bird, which we will be getting into momentarily. But first, this brightly colored bird from South America is found in the nation of Brazil, usually in two locations, one mainly being the Amazon River Basin, and then slightly further up north in the Orinoco River Basin. So this bird is found high up in the trees, usually in a tree that's located over a river or a lake, mangrove areas where, of course, there's a lot of rich food and plant life, but unlike a lot of birds, which tend to vary their diet quite a bit, the Hoatzin's main diet is mainly focused on leaves. Over 90% of their diet is leaves, with occasionally eating of fruit and flowers. But because of this highly restrictive leaf diet, they do not digest their food like a lot of other birds, which tend to have a crop or gizzard, which these birds do, but that is not where the food is actually broken down, but rather the Hoatzin has a very developed high-tech stomach, much like you would find in a cow. It is not like quite as extravagant as the four-chambered stomach you would find in your cattle, but it still is a giant vat that holds a multitude of bacteria that ferment and help ruminate on those leaves and break them down. So, very much like a cow, and so it'll take almost up to about 24 hours for that food to ferment and break down. And because of that, it produces a lot of course, gas. So actually, the Hoatzin is known as the stink bird due to this highly fermentated process that produces basically a gaseous mixture that's much like what you smell when you come in contact with cow that's like manure. So it's a very stinky process to develop this system for fermenting leaves. The other important thing to note about this is because they have this huge fermentation process in their stomach, that it leaves little room for a lot of the structures needed for flight. While they do have wings, the wings are not fully developed as much as they are in some birds, and especially in the muscles themselves, there's just no room for them to develop to anything necessary to fly at least long distances. They are capable of short-range flying, but this is very rare and will often stick to a very local area, which is fine because Hoatzins tend to be very social birds. There could be up to 100 birds within a short area, and so while it may be for some birds to fly long distances in order to locate mates or have a social life, these birds, it's pretty unnecessary, as these birds tend to commingle in one area. Now, the other important thing to note about Hoatzins is that they are very unique to look at, because not only are they very colorful birds, but they, like some birds, do develop claws at their end of their wings. Now, there's speculation onto why birds have claws on their wings. Both scientists have various reasons for this. Some say it's a relation to reptiles, but I highly doubt that. It's just like fingernails or teeth with any animal. It's all these things kind of correlate together for a number of different reasons. But for the Hoatzin, these claws actually still play very much a modern role in their life. While these claws tend to develop in young birds when they first hatch to just help them get out of the egg, and usually fall off straight afterwards, Hoatzin chicks actually keep these claws up until about 3 months. Now, for the reason for this is because of their lifestyle of living near a river. Usually, if there's danger, Hoatzin parents will call out in distress, and in fact, that's where Hoatzins got their name, was the call, which sounds very much like Hoatzin. But when the parents are alarmed and make these calls, these babies will instinctually throw themselves out of the nest and into the river until the danger passes. Now, this may seem odd, as chicks are not very well known for their ability to survive on their own, but Hoatzin chicks are actually quite developed already when they're born. They're what is known as precocial, and I've mentioned that a few times. So they're semi-developed bird chicks, unlike so many of the small birds you often see around you. And so they actually are quite excellent swimmers just within a couple days of being born. Not only that, as these chicks are able to swim and float in a river, waiting for danger to pass, once the danger has passed, their claws come in quite useful, as they are then able to scale the tree that they were born in on the side of the river and make their way back up to the nest. So Hoatzins are actually, despite looking very odd, especially with their big bodies and often weirdly clownish faces, are actually quite specially designed birds that have been able to live and breed successfully along the Amazon River basin. So, there you are. There's the Hoatzin, and definitely one of the most unique animals we've had, and the one I've been able to talk about most, at least in a long time. So this is actually nice to have this much information to share with you. And so hopefully these podcast episodes can be a bit more around this length when we do podcast episodes in the future. Especially now that I've kind of developed a system for giving you this information and done it a bit more times. So hopefully you enjoyed all that information, and we will be back next weekend with our next animal. In the meantime, I will again provide links to especially my 2 books, which you can buy on Amazon: The Crazy Creatures of the Ocean, Shocking Sharks and Radical Rays, and Crazy Creatures of Oz, Meet the Colorful Animals of Australia. And hopefully, within a couple months, I will be able to announce my 3rd book, and it may be even shorter than that. It's just I haven't had the time to really sit down and work out the last few kinks, but pretty much everything is there, and it's just more kind of organizing and making sure it's all together. And so there will be an announcement about the 3rd book very soon, hopefully. Thanks for listening. Enjoy drawing, and enjoy animals, and enjoy nature. Thanks for listening, and have a wonderful day.